Шановні колеги, ми продовжимо роботу.
Dear colleagues, we continue our working day, and now the floor is given to Ministry of Defense of Ukraine spokesman on ATO-related issues, Colonel Oleksandr Motuzyanyk. Good afternoon, everyone. Now the information about the main events that happened in the region of ATO during the last 24 hours. During the last 24 hours in the Lugansk area, the most tense was in the near Krymsk. The militants were active in the evening, and they started to deliver fire with heavy weapons, mortars. And after dark, they started to use barrel artillery. In 4 hours of shellings, the enemy launched at our positions more than 100 mortar and 70 artillery shells. In Popasnensky region, military activity of the enemy decreased. There were 8 instances of ceasefire violations. The enemy used heavy weapons twice, delivering short mortar fire in Troitsk and Novozvanivka. Also, twice ceasefire was violated by the enemy in Zhovte and Novotoshkivske. And in the last hour, position was fired at by a sniper, and in the region of Stanitsa Luganska it was come yesterday. The militants continue barbaric violations of international agreements. Yesterday, in the course of photographic record in Lobacheva town, Ukrainian officers of JCCC came under enemy fire. And fortunately, there is no casualties, but the car was damaged. On the whole, in the Lugansk area, there were 22 enemy shelling, half of which were the use of heavy weapons. It happened in Krymsk. The Donetsk area, the situation is tense in Avdiivka. On the whole, the enemy shelling lasted for 12 hours there, and it was absolute calm in Avdiivka starting 9 till 3 p.m. And before and after this, the enemy actively used mortars. And then the enemy started to use 152 millimeter cannons. And after sunset, they delivered 20 shells from tank. Local and central bodies of power tried to liquidate the consequences of enemy shelling. 7 repair crews repaired 44 damages in private and communal sectors of the city. And this morning they restarted their work, and Donetsk filtration station continued to work in a regular mode. In flanks of Avdiivka, enemy snipers were active. The militants delivered mortar fire at Ukrainian positions, and the militants' activities continue at Donetsk airport. Our positions in Opetne came under enemy fire with the use of grenade launchers and machine guns, and after sunset, the enemy used mortars there. In Gorlovsky perimeter, the situation is the same as in the previous days. During the day, the militants provoke Ukrainian forces to return fire, and after dark, they use heavy weapons, including mortars that they used yesterday. And also yesterday, the enemy shelled our rear region, and Kurdyumivka village came under enemy fire, that is to the north of Gorlovka, and in the result, a 17-year-old boy died. In Svetlodarsk Bulge, the occupants continued to shell Ukrainian positions with the use of mortars. 32 enemy shelling, half of which were the use of heavy weapons, were registered in the Donetsk area. But the Mariupol area, the militant activity shifted to the south. At 6:30, the militant group started massive artillery and mortar shelling of our positions at Shirokina and neighboring Lebedinska. The shelling stopped in 2 hours, and in the same area, the enemy used tanks. Second, less heavy shelling at the same part of front line happened in the evening, and the enemy used cannons and mortars. To the north, the ceasefire was violated at Vodyane, Gnutovo, Pavlopil, Bogdanovka, Novotroitsk, and Mariinka. Mortars were used rarely by the enemy. The majority of ceasefire violations were with the use of small arms. For the first time in many days, the number of shelling in the Mariupol area was comparable with the two other areas. So yesterday there were 24 enemy shellings, third of which the enemy used heavy weapons. During the last 24 hours, in the result of the military actions, no Ukrainian serviceman was killed, but one Ukrainian serviceman was wounded in Verkhnyataretsk in the Donetsk area in the course of mortar shelling delivered by the enemy. Now the information delivered from reconnaissance service. In Donetsk area, the enemy carry out the shelling of residential quarters. This is done by artillery detachment of so-called 11th detachment of motorized and rifle regiment. And also they bring bodies out of Avdiivka, and they bring bodies from Donetsk hospital to Rostov-on-Don. 2 trucks brought the bodies of the militants, and the national police detained a man who tried to bring weapons to the peaceful territory of Ukraine. 19-year-old resident of Serdivsk tried to deliver 200 cartridges of different caliber, 2 grenades and TNT blocks and signal flare to the territory of Ukraine. So this man was detained and handed into SBU. Servicemen of National Guard brought to Avdiivka 50 tons of humanitarian help for the residents of this area, and they helped to bring this to Kramatorsk center. These are food, mattresses, and also pillows, and also construction materials to repair the houses. And part of this will be delivered to other towns, those that suffered from Russian aggression. Do you have questions? No questions. Till the next time, goodbye.
Шановні колеги, наступна подія.
Dear colleagues, our next event is at 1 p.m.